true.
Mine too. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Christine Staple-Ebanks. She's a mother, and not only is she a mother, but she's a fighter. All the way from Jamaica, West Indies this evening, Christine has written a book titled Raising Nathan. And it's a heartfelt story about struggle faced by Jamaican parents on discovering that their son would be born with a major disability and a prognosis that he would not survive childhood. Christine, how old is he?
Nathan is now 12 years old.
There you go. So I asked that question for a reason. I'd like you to say hello to the audience here, and we will start our discussion right after.
Thank you so much, and I want to say a wonderful, warm, and beautiful Jamaican good evening to the audience at the station, Linkage Radio. I hope that you will enjoy the discussion today. I thank you for allowing me into your space to share.
Oh, yes. We look forward to hearing all that you have to share with us this afternoon. Raising Nathan. What is it about Raising Nathan?
Raising Nathan, I believe, I call it almost a healing balm because it captures, it allowed me to put all that I had been through personally, my son had been through, and my whole family, from the pregnancy through the birth to good use. Mm-hmm. And so for me, sharing the story helped to make sense of what happened to us, and it helped to give it purpose. And so the story, I always shared that when we're going through the journey, there was so much I needed to know that would have given me peace, would have given me comfort, would have given me help. And I couldn't find any material that was applicable to me, particularly here in Jamaica. And so the book was written to be that resource for others who are coming behind me.
Oh my goodness. I recall discussing this topic about, disabilities and about Nathan several years ago. And
yes,
we have been following each other on Facebook, that great social platform, if you ask me, once it's used for things that are positive. And
absolutely.
I realize that you are relentless in your pursuit to bring awareness, to bring awareness and to let people understand that when you have a child who has a disability, life does not stop. It doesn't end there.
Absolutely. And I think that was it for me. When Nathan was diagnosed, and just to back a little bit for the story, when I was 5 months pregnant, he was my first child, and I was working otherwise. And 5 months pregnant, we discovered a external ultrasound that he had a congenital birth defect called congenital diaphragmatic hernia, and he would have died at birth had it not been picked up. And so when he was born, just the last few months of pregnancy was extremely traumatic. Yeah. And a lot of the trauma came from just not knowing, not understanding what is happening, being afraid, just carrying this weight, of the unknown. And after he was born, it was touch and go for about 3 weeks, obviously, because he had major surgery to correct the severe jaundice at 10 days old. So, they had to put him on to reduce the jaundice that was in the bloodstream. And he just went through a lot. Yes. Came home at 28 days old, and it came home, there was no preparation. Nothing was shared with us. We weren't told that because of what he's been through, he would have been at risk for developmental delay. We weren't told what to look for. He wasn't referred any early stimulation program. Not that we had many available, but just no information. So we were blindsided by the disability when he was 9 months old. Yeah. And we got that diagnosis because I was pushing. I kept saying to the doctor who was seeing him at the time, there's something wrong. He is not developing. He's my fourth child. I'm not comparing the babies. But he is supposed to at least be able to focus and look at me at 3 months old. He's supposed to be able to pull from his bottle at 6 months old. His development is not.
Right. And they just didn't, they weren't patient, were they?
They weren't paying attention. As a matter of fact, the doctor who saw him at the time said, "Oh, mother, this baby has been through so much trauma at birth. He needed delayed. Let us watch it." And so he decided to see if he would grow out of it like he was a pair of shoes. And so it was just a lot of really bad decisions that were made on our behalf. And we weren't educated. We were never empowered to understand the choices that we needed to have. We were never empowered to even understand the rights that we had. And as a result, we were so dependent on the medical professional that whatever they said law, even though deep down in your gut, were feeling that something was off. So when he was about 7 months, and this in the public hospital space, so we took him to a private pediatrician who said he is very delayed, and he referred us to a neurologist at 9 months. And so Nathan became one of the few children in Jamaica who was actually diagnosed early, because a lot of the diagnosis is done long after one, and so he got his diagnosis 9 months. But with the diagnosis, that was all the neurologist gave us, cerebral palsy, and then we didn't know what it meant. And he sat down and began to tell us all that he would never, ever, ever do. And so after he did that, I lived with the fear that he was going to die, because I thought it was a terminal illness. And so I was a mess on the job. I couldn't function. I couldn't even attend to my other children, because I just kept waiting for him to die. And when he was about 2 years old, I said to my husband, I need to go somewhere else where they're used to see children like Nathan, where I could get a different set of information, because I just kept getting the feeling that I didn't know the whole story. And so we took him to a facility in Sunrise, Florida, actually. And I always refer to that time as my first ray of hope. Because a rehabilitation facility, he got an entire interdisciplinary assessment with several specialists. And they didn't just do the assessment, but each person sat down with us and explained what it was, what it meant, and most importantly, what my role as a mother was in helping to support his development. The result of that was that it was not a death sentence, it would not die.
Right.
And that alone gave me so much peace. And so after 3 weeks, we came back armed with his first set of home management program, and he was 2.5 years old.
Quite a story, a very touching one indeed. He's now 12. You have written this book, Raising Nathan.
Yes.
Would you like this book to touch?
The book is written for parents and family members, because disability there is a quote that I tell that disability is part of the human condition, but it is one of the things that is most feared. There's a lot of stigmas and a lot of discrimination and just a lot of, myths and so on associated with disabilities, that it robs the individual of a chance to be seen as a person.
Right.
So people see the disabled child and they draw assumptions about the individual based on the dis and not the able.
Yes.
And so when I was writing the book, I really wrote from my heart. I spoke about what would have been good for me to know.
Right.
I spoke about the experience in depth, so that the healthcare professional could understand what they can do differently, so they could understand from the point of view of the patient how I felt about the care that we received, how I felt about just a lot of what was happening to him. Even when he was in the hospital, I was invisible. Nobody spoke between nobody saw me. There was no consideration about what I might have been going through as a parent, just sitting and watching the helplessness that I felt. And so I worked with healthcare professionals in mind. So whether you're an intake nurse, whether you're working in the ER, whether you're, because I had quite a number of episodes when I was in and out of emergency care, and they had to put in a cerclage, keep the baby from coming, and put me on bed rest 6 months so that the baby would get large enough for surgery. And so I had the opportunity of passing through quite a number of the different departments at our hospital. I captured the journey so that I could give the healthcare workers a different perspective. Because oftentimes when you're doing your job, particularly when you're good at it, you forget that there's a human being that is receiving that service, and that human beings are all different.
Yes.
And so when I wrote, it was with them in mind. I was with a doctor in mind, a surgeon who worked with my son, who towards the end of his stay there, one day when she came for her visit, and I took a picture and she asked me what was that, and I said, because someday a little boy is going to come up to you and say, I know you, you're in my album, because my mom told me that you're the surgeon who, and she turned to me and said, if he lives.
Oh dear.
If he lives to pass. So there was such a and such a coldness and a disconnect in just the way each of these different specialists worked with us.
Yes.
When after he was discharged from hospital and he started going to the post-surgery clinic at the university hospital, just the way that the doctors there dealt with the whole thing, because here it was, I had this baby who was so medically fragile, didn't know what was going on, and so I, being a very hands-on, I wrote my notes and my questions. And so when I went to the clinic, and they only wanted to know what he was doing, he was not doing, and a checklist. And so when they were done and I asked a question, I have some questions for you, the doctor just sat, looked at me, and when I was done, he said, okay, here's the docket, give it back to the nurse, and you come back in 6 weeks. And so there was no engagement with me at all. And so I have written the book for them.
Yes.
And I not only speak to what I went through, but I spoke to what would have been helpful to me as a parent at that point. And then we journeyed right through to school, all the issues that we had there. I identified what they were, what was lacking, what we needed, and I speak to policy in terms of what would have been necessary to provide the support we needed, and I spoke to the special education side intervention, what it was that we needed, what it was we did, and pretty much what it is that teachers could expect or could have done to aid in the child's development. And so the book has a multifaceted audience.
Yes.
It also speaks to family members who don't understand and who will tell you, don't bother with this one. Or who write off the child because the child has a disability. And that often happens because they are really saying, many of them, I don't understand my role, I don't do. So I spoke to them in terms of what kind of support we needed from the different persons who were part of our lives, what would have been helpful, what was stressful. So when you keep telling me over and over, poor thing and poor thing, that was not helpful to me. And so the whole idea is create an awareness and to give people an intimate glimpse into the light of persons with disabilities so that we can have compassion and understanding.
All right. Now, Christine, get a copy of this book, because there are people here in the United States who are also challenged with children with special needs.
Yes.
Disability
yes.
of all forms that you can think
yes.
of. While this country are more receptive, should I say, to, children who are in this category, there are still parents who are wondering, why me? Why this?
Yes.
They keep asking the question, though they're getting all the help that they can get. They're still asking the question. But you have written this book from your own personal experience, which will help people to just cope, be able to cope and know
Yes.
there is going to be another day. Today is not
Yes.
a good day, but tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're very right in all that you've just described. And what I find is very necessary as you travel the journey is to have other voices who have been where you've been or who are on ahead of you, because you draw comfort from what they've been through. There is a volunteer who works with my foundation. She's in Germany. She's from England, and she has a child with cerebral palsy. And when I advertised for the volunteer position, she was moved by the story, because I, kind of had to give a background as to why I started the foundation and all of that. And she shared with me an email that touched me to the core, because she said she wanted to serve as a volunteer, and she was looking around and she saw this. What attracted her was when she read the story.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she went online, Amazon.com, and she bought the book.
Okay.
And she said for the first time in years, and her daughter is about 15, she felt like somebody else understood. Those inner thoughts don't express the body, and those emotions you don't even share with yourself. And she said it gave her comfort. And she said to me, my desire is to one day be where you are today. And so because of that, she has come on board and just doing some tremendous work with the foundation to help get it out there, because she said, I wish I had found an organization like yours when I started my journey.
Right.
So to answer your question, the book has several applications, even though in the United States, as you say, there's a lot much more advanced in a lot of what is needed. There are other matters that we deal with. For instance, when as a parent you have so much hope and dreams for your children, but as fact, your child is going to become the next big thing, the next Usain Bolt, the next somebody big, and that's a dream we have, because we want our children to go farther than we did and to reach better. So when you hear the news, that the child has a disability, it is likened to almost getting the news that the child died. Because what it means is that all of this dream that you have come crashing down, and all of a sudden you feel so lost and alone. A lot of parents become very guilty because of some of the thoughts that cross their mind. So what I have done in the book, I shared my thoughts. There was no judgment. I just shared my thoughts because I wanted people to understand that was okay. It was a normal part of development, and for them not to feel any form of guilt for having had those feelings.
Yes.
And so from that perspective, actually there is a colleague of mine from California, and she has been, one of my co-laborers in advocating for children here and in addressing some of the issues in the education system. And her daughter was diagnosed with type O leukemia when she was 4 in 2010. And she read my book, and I cried when she sent me back the review, because she said, when you spoke about being alone with your thoughts at night, when you spoke about the fact that eluded you and all of the words that had to keep you coming, she said, you were touching me on such a core level. Because until you said it, I never knew that anybody else felt that way.
Yes.
And so she was able to draw comfort even though the child didn't have a disability.
I do know that I'm going to be wrapping up in seconds, but I just like you to once again give them the name of the book, where they can get it, and a contact number for you.
Thank you very much. The name of the book is Raising Nathan, Every Life Has a Story. That's Raising Nathan, Every Life Has a Story. And it is available on Amazon worldwide, on Barnes & Noble worldwide. In Jamaica, can be bought through our office. The number to call is 876-622-7600. and we are in discussions with several other bookstores here to get the book through the doors. I also want to add that a big part of buying the book as well is to give it as gifts, because several persons who have come to me and bought the books, they have friends or relatives who have a child with disabilities and they've never known how to help them. And they have bought the books and given it to them and have come back to say that the person cannot stop thanking them. And when the books are bought, part proceeds of the book actually goes to the Nathan and from the advocacy work that I do.
All right. It has always been my pleasure to open the door to you, Christine. You are doing
Thank
an
you.
exceptional job, and certainly you do have support in accomplishing all that you have to date, and there is so much
Thank
more
you.
for you to do. And I want you to hug
Yes.
Nathan for me and give him a kiss on the
I will.
and you know
Okay.
that your foundation will grow and people will become more sensitive
Yes.
to the needs of children and adults too, who are so
Yes.
affected by disability
Yes.
in Jamaica and across the world. Thank you so much for
Yes.
joining me this evening. Nathan, ladies and gentlemen, is
you
the
so much.
heartfelt story of the struggles by Jamaican parents discovering that their son would be born with a major disability and a prognosis that he would not survive childhood. Today, he's 12 years old. God bless you, Christine. Take it easy.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for Raising Nathan. I'm always so touched. That was Christine Staple-Ebanks. She's the mother and author of Raising Nathan, a beautiful woman.